All right, guys, what's up? Let's finish our trip to LA on the stack train. If you didn't watch the last video, we started this thing up in San Bernardino. It's an international stack train, and we're going to take it down to LA. Eventually, this thing will make its way to Long Beach, right, to be unloaded and put on ships. But we don't have that in game, so we're going to take it to like the start of the Alameda corridor. This is our train. I just saved it where we were at last time. We're up around Esperanza. Let's go ahead and get this thing started up. So you click on it, hit auto start all locomotives, auto MUDP, auto EOT, auto circuit breaker, auto air brake. We auto everything. It's a lot of auto, but you can't have too much auto. So there we go. She's starting up. Let's put our headlight on dim for now while we get situated. Let's go to the game stream for now. There we go. Symbol is going to be the SALT-LHA 3-05. S is for stack train. ALT, I think, is Fort Worth Alliance. LHA is going to be one of the 50 bazillion Long Beach Harbor port places down there. I don't know. 3 is going to be priority. I think, if I remember correctly, on BNSF is 1 through 9. 9 being the highest priority, the hottest of the hot. 1 being the slow boat to China. This guy's a 3. It's international containers, right? These things are fixing to be put on a ship, and they're going to be going across the Pacific for weeks. So I don't see them being that high priority period. 05 is origin date, the date that the train was created, I guess entered into the system, right? So S stack trains. Now, I'm not a BNSF guy. I don't know much about it, but I always look at the S stack trains as like the international stuff. There's other stack trains too that they have, like Q, which is like the guarantee or quality service or whatever. But this bad boy is an S. Let's take a peek at it real quick. I'll show you guys what she looks like. If you didn't see the last video, I'll put a link around here somewhere so you guys can check it out. But this is her. Nothing but international containers, right? Tons and tons. I live on the Transcon in Texas, and it's this all day, every day, a bazillion times a day. Like, so she's 2x2, 2 on the head end, 2 on the bottom. Let's get this turned down real fast. Little music there. I gave it like a little, I don't know what you call that, like a salsa tune for California, right? For Southern California, pretty good. She's 2x2, 3 -9s and 1 ES4400s, and I got the bottom configured. One of my favorite ways to have DPU on the bottom. I don't know why. I just like them nose to nose. With this -9, let's hit J 1 time to get our rear marker on dim. There you go. She is up. Very nice. Very cool train, right? I look at BNSF as like the container railroad, right? Like they move so many containers across the country. It's ridiculous. I should have stopped here at the signal, right? This would have been a good spot to stop because we could have left on a light, but now we're by it. That's my bad. I'm like, my bad. Let's go ahead and load up. Let's load up on her here, and let's go to the cab webcam. Here we go. Had several people, or at least a few people, comment, said that they like that, so I do appreciate that. Just something a little different, right? In fact, I'm already going to, I might make some changes to it. We'll see. Get my chair scooted up here. Looking good. She's got 6 pounds drawn off. We're going to go ahead and draw it down 10. I don't know what the grade is right here. I think it's downhill. We'll make it 10. And we'll put her in forward, and we're going to release the parking brake or the handbrake with 5 until we're ready to go. Next thing we need to do is activate auto, right? So go to the top menu, go engage auto all routes. That is the AI dispatcher. He does a pretty good job. He's not too bad. He gets a little snarky from time to time, but and we need to call him up. So I know by looking at the map is 6565 tone 14. So we'll hit channel 65 1 time. Now in real life, at least when I did it back in the day, you do channel and then like 6565, you put it in twice, but I know what it's like now. It's been over 20 years. Now we need to tone him up, so we'll hit DTMF and then star 1 4, and that should tone him. This is basically ringing him up, right? It's ringing him up to let him know that someone needs to talk to him. There you go, request signal. You're already cleared. Proceed on signal indication. So we do have a light. We're delayed in the block, right? So we're going to go around to the next signal looking out. It could be a stop. Like he's told us signal indication, right? He didn't say, hey, come on down. You got to clear. He would never do that because that would be a no-no. He doesn't know what we got. Like what he says on his board could be completely different than what we got in the field, right? So you need to go down there looking out and make sure that you do in fact have a light. So anyway, I think I'm going to step away real quick and then we'll come back and get started. All right, through the magic of editing, I am back. Let's go ahead and get this thing rolling. I think we're good to go. Let's go ahead and go to number 2. Release the brakes and we'll start easing out of the independent, and she should start rolling up. I think it's downhill here. You know, the last video I was like, I'm not 100% sure. There we go, the bottom's moving. I didn't know. This is a very foreign route to me. I'm an East Coast guy. I don't run West Coast a lot, but and then it dawned on me, like, if you think of the general lay of the land, if you're a little bit familiar with it, you got the big grade coming down Cajon Pass, right? 3%. And it lessens at San Bernardino, but it's still pretty much predominantly downhill all the way into LA to the port, right? So it's not as extreme. Right here it says it's 1.10 down. Let's just ease along. 1.10 down, 1.30 down. But yeah, it's mostly, it kind of stair steps down into LA, right? So you got some areas where it kind of levels out, or maybe even a little not, and then it goes down. I just don't know exactly where those locations are at. If you know your territory, right, you're going to know, hey, there's a knot at XYZ that we got to go, you know, we got to pull over or whatever, or a big drop off, but I don't know the territory. So we just kind of, we're going by the seat of our pants. But it dawned on me in the last video, I was like, it's predominantly downhill. So that's what we're going to do. All right, let's give her a little more throttle. So train stats. Yeah, let's go over that one more time. She's 2.9 HPT, 6336 tons, 91 load, 0 empties, and she's 6,159 feet long. So a decent train, right? She's not anything crazy extreme like you see in PSR railroading. I don't even know if the BNSF goes by the whole PSR philosophy. I thought they kind of dabbled in it and then got away from it, but I'm not sure because I don't keep up with that stuff anymore. But either way, it's nothing ridiculous like what they wrote in PSR, which I'm not a fan of at all. In fact, I'm glad I left the railroad long before that crap ever started. So I don't think railroading has been railroading for a long time. It has gotten really like corporatized and just, it's not the same. Even when I worked for the railroad, to this day, I don't consider myself a railroader. I wasn't a railroader. I just did the job. You know. Anyway, like I said, we're going to ease down here looking out. Next signal is 1.7. So we need to go down here looking out because we don't know. Dispatcher says signal indication. But we don't know if the signal might not be working, you know. I mean, anything could happen, right? Anything could happen. So just go down there looking out. Anything could happen, so we'll see. In the end, it's just a game. It's all relative to like how realistic you want to do this, you know. I mean, you could get out a rule book and you could like rule book the hell out of this if you want to. I mean, it's purely like it's up to you, right? There you go. Get that taken care of. 1.3 from our signal. Let's go into dynamics. Start gathering up the slack with B2. Go ahead and grab a little air. Hopefully we'll get a good view of the signal, right? It won't be something like right around a curve. I don't know. Like I said, if you knew your territory, you know, hey, this signal is right around the end of the curve here, so we gotta go in there easy. All right, let's go ahead and let go of the air. In game, I'm way more liberal. Like, I don't worry about stuck brakes as much when I have DPU. Right? It's not. It's really. It's kind of a non-issue. All right, we're 0.4 away, so we should be just popping around this curve here somewhere. Coming up to Esperanza. Yeah, I don't see it yet. Yeah, knowing your territory, so incredibly important. If you want to be decent at it, you know, the more you know your territory, the better you're going to be. You're going to know it like the back of your hand, right? You're going to know what to expect at every little area. There we go. There's our light, and we got it clear, so we're good to go. Go ahead and come out of dynamics. Now let her stabilize a little bit. Yeah, it's going to make it so easy, you know, and like learning your territory. I've always said in other videos, you know, in game, this is all for game practices, right? This has nothing to do with real life, but, you know, break it up into sections, siding to siding or location to location, and think, hey, okay, so we go downhill here, we go over a little knot, we go down again, you know, that sort of thing. Break it down into little segments, and then eventually you'll be able to go over it in your mind and be like, okay, starting at this location is downhill. When we get to here, or this road crossing or whatever is back uphill, you know, you'll be able to go through the whole route and you'll know it. But it takes a lot of dedication, you know, to really like learn it that well. You know, a lot of people don't. All right, let's go. Let's get out of here. We got 50 for our speed limit. Imperial Highway overpass. Yeah, I enjoy LA. I really do. It's one of my favorites. It's a fun route to run. Right. That in the Bakersfield sub. While we do that, I want to go to a comment someone left. Let me see if I can find it here.
Detector, milepost 38.0, main 1.
There we go. Joseph says, it's a great video. Thank you for taking the time. Question, what was eating and sleeping, if even possible, like on the train for the crew? I spent a lot of time in multi-engine aircraft. We always found time to make sure we were fed, rested. Thought it might be the same on the train. Yeah, eating on the train. Okay, eating on the train, like you're left at your own devices, right? This is what I did. I took cans of Beanie Weenie, sometimes a sandwich. Sometimes I take these little cans of boiled peanuts. And that's all I had. Like, that's literally all I ate on the train. Sometimes maybe some chips, so just kind of like snacky stuff. I worked with guys that brought full-on meals to eat, right? But usually it was just easy, like grab and go kind of stuff, right? Like some trains, like some of the trains from Canada had hot plates on them and stuff like that. Though I never used that stuff, but like I said, some engineers would bring a a full-on mill. I never forget. I had an engineer one time brought a big, huge glass jar of beef vegetable stew. And I mean, this jar was like this big. It was huge, right? So he brought it and he took it and he went back to the engine compartment and he set it back on the engine where it would heat up. Sometimes, like I work with guys that you do that all the time, right? They'd have food wrapped up in aluminum foil, like ribs or chicken or something like that, and they put it back there on the engine, let it heat up. Sometimes you can use the sidewall heater on the train. If it's wintertime, you use the sidewall heater too. But he brought this big, huge jar of. Okay, we're good. Big jar of vegetable stew. And he was like, sometimes we shared food too. Just to make that clear. Not all the time, but sometimes it did, depending on who you work with. I work with this engineer, we're good friends. He's like, hey, I got this jar of beef vegetable stew or vegetable stew. You know, I've got plenty. We'll have this, you know, when it heats up. I said, okay. So anyway, we go about our business on a trip. We get a few hours into it. And he says, hey, man, why don't you go back there and get our stew for us? And we'll see about eating. I said, okay. So I go back to the engine compartment, open up the doors, and I am met with the best smelling vegetable stew you could ever have, mixed with diesel and like mechanical stuff. And it was really strong. And I was like, oh no. And I looked and it had rolled off the engine somehow and had busted. The jar had busted. So there's all this stew back in the engine compartment. And I went back to my engineer and I said, dude, I hate to say, but the jar didn't make it. It fell somehow and busted, so we didn't have any stew. But yeah, you could do that. I heard a story of another guy. This was long before I started working, that he brought some baked beans. I think it was baked beans. He brought a can, one of those little cans of baked beans, right? And he put it on the sidewall heater. I want to say he did it in the second locomotive, because they didn't want the sidewall heaters going in the lead and make it hot, so they did on the second one. But he didn't he didn't put a vent in the can, and so when he went back there to check on it, the can had, I guess it boiled inside or something and built up pressure and exploded in the cab. And they said there was baked beans like all inside the cab everywhere. So yeah, we did take food, we did eat. Like I said, it just depended on how involved you wanted to be with it. I didn't do anything like too crazy involved. I just took something quick and easy to eat. And usually I just waited till we got to wherever we were going, right? Away terminal. The motel that we stayed in had a KFC like next door, and it wasn't a Waffle House or a Huddle House. It was some other kind of like diner next door that we could go to eat. There was a Wendy's that you could walk to this a little further down, but I didn't walk down there at night. It wasn't good to walk down there at night, so I didn't do that. But yeah, I went a lot without eating, to be honest. Like I did like sometimes it was more of a hassle than it was worth, right? Like you would be starved by the time you got home. That was just me, you know. Some guys definitely didn't starve. Like they had everything you could possibly need. It just depended on what you wanted to do, you know. But as far as rest, of course, you know, you rest at your way terminal or at home. We could nap. I'm trying to think, was that actually technically allowed? I think it was. I think they did the nap rule while I was working. Like, they put something in, maybe in the rule book, that said if you stop for a certain amount of time, you can nap as long as one of the crewmen was awake or something to that effect. But like, we've been doing that forever before, right? Like, that wasn't nothing new. If you sat in a siding for, you know, 3 or 4 hours waiting on something, you were going to nap. Like, this is just the way it was, right? You were going to nap. So Yeah, I'm just trying to remember if that's a nice little location. I like this right here. Like, that is really cool. I think they've gone back and they've like tweaked the scenery or added some stuff or something to the route, because it looks a little different to me. Honestly, it looks a little different. But yeah, we could nap. Of course, you could take rest. Always, 99% of the time, I took 10 hours undisturbed, even at the away terminal. Sometimes I would do, I wouldn't claim any rest or whatever. It depended. Let's just do this thing. So, you know, it all depended on, like, I was trying to think the best way to explain this. What you were setting yourself up for. If I got in and I put off and it showed that sometime I was going to be coming off rest and there's going to be a really good train going the opposite direction, like a high priority intermodal or something, then you would kind of claim your rest according to being able to set yourself up to get that train. And sometimes it worked out. Sometimes it didn't. Sometimes it did, right? Like, all right, let's watch her here. She's wanting to get a little bit fast on me. So it all depended, right? It all depended. Usually you went up with, you know, your engineer and you came back together. Sometimes they would get split up at the away terminal, but not very often. Like, I don't ever remember that happening to me. Yeah, I don't ever remember that happening, but oh, what does this dude stop? I thought he was stopping on the tracks, right? Oh, we got a 40 in a mile. Never mind. So I hope that gives a little bit of an idea of how that worked out. I can tell you now, working on the railroad, I stayed exhausted a lot. Because one day you're going to be working during the day and the next time is going to be during the night, right? Like, it was all the time, you know, changing up. We're going to bust that 40 like no tomorrow because Fur isn't paying attention. Get some air. I think we'll be all right. Yeah, you stayed exhausted a lot, right? You really just did. Oh, we had crossing coming up. Never mind. Yeah, we hit it okay. It's all right. We did it. Go ahead and release that. Back out of the dynamics a little bit here. Going up to Fullerton. Nice. Yeah, you stayed powered a lot because of schedule. Oh, we got 2 trains waiting on us here. That's cool. Fatigue was the thing, right? It was a real deal. And you stayed fatigued a lot, especially when you worked the pool, because the pool didn't have regular hours to it or anything, you know. Like I said, one day you may work 8 a.m. to, you know, 8 that night, 12-hour trip, and then the next time, you know, maybe, you know, noon to midnight or midnight to noon or whatever, which were some of the worst to me. Like, the ones that I really hated was where you work half the night, half the day. Those really sucked. And it's slowing down big time now. Spur's doing a horrible job of staying on top of this. All right, so we're meeting some kind of pig with domestic containers on it, right? The 53-foot domestic, and then there's a slot freight over there on the other side. This domestic container train more likely is out of LAC. But anyway, like I said, I hope that kind of answers the question. At least gives a little bit of an idea as best I can. Like I said, it's been a really long time since I've done anything like that. But I do remember the fatigue. I remember, like, constantly being tired, right? Just And it took me a long time to get my sleep kind of back right, even after I left the railroad, like, because it was just so out of whack, right? It was so out of whack. That and my feet. Like, my feet used to kill me, right? You're walking in those steel-toed boots on ballast, especially when you're working locals and stuff, working a regular local and you're doing it all the time. Like, my feet used to get so crampy. You know, I don't know why. It bothered me for some reason. All right, we're coming up on 40 here. All right, there's our pig train. Pig train looks good. Marker's working. And slot freight, I'm not going to say because we couldn't really get a good look at him. Man, now we're going back down grade again. I love the label. Yet more bare table storage, right? Like, store bare tables everywhere down here. Like, that's the thing. That's the thing to do, is store. It's you know, I commented on the last video of like how it's predominantly container traffic now. It's kind of sad how it's gotten away from, you know, other stuff. You know, and this really goes into like the country as a whole. And I'm not going to get on that soapbox too much, but we really just don't make anything here anymore like we used to, right? Like I said, Pico Rivera used to have an automotive, I want to say it was a Ford plant there. They made other cars down here too. I know there was other places where they did that. They had, like I said, this steel plant. It's, oh, I can't think of the name of the place now. But outside of San Bernardino, like, there was so much more manufacturing and stuff down here back in the day, and now it's just all going to, international, you know, container traffic, stuff like that. You know, everything's brought in from overseas, so it's like a bridge line, right? Like from the port to the interior where everything is distributed. But, you know, what I was getting at is there's a lot of tracks you see down here to bare table storage. It used to be tracks for like manufacturing and stuff back in the day. I want to say they would haul the Pico Rivera plant, the Ford plant. They would haul car parts, automotive parts down there. Those big automotive box cars, the 89 foot or the 89 or 85 foot cars, and the 60 foot high cubes. Those were super hot trains. Like, those were super hot trains. Having those automotive parts on the head end, you know, they put them on pigs and stuff like that. And I want to say a lot of those automotive parts like originated over on the East Coast or like up around Ohio and Michigan and that way, and then they would send them out here to the automotive plant. But yeah, those were super hot. I'd have loved it at the game. Ideally, I'd love to see the game at some point. Oh, it's the airport there. I never noticed that. That's super cool. The game had the ability to backdate routes, right? Or bring them to the present. I would get DLC for that, like a DLC that makes it current times, or a DLC that makes it like 1985 or something like that. I would totally do that. I would be all about that. I think that would be cool. And so if you got the backdate DLC, you set the route to the correct time period, and the DLC, you know, activates, and it may consist of like the you know, the correct track arrangement, the correct style signals for back then, you know, the correct industries, that sort of thing. And then you could see like automotive plants and stuff like that for back in the day. Yeah, I think that would be super cool. I'd be all about that. All right, so we're just kind of drifting along. It's 50 here. There's a resume speedboard, but it's not for us. All right, this one of those little knots I was telling you about. It was briefly 0.3 up, now it's 0.1. There's still some industry down here. You see, there's international paper and some kind of carpet place. I don't know if those are 100% accurate, but I mean, it's not like it's all gone, but it's not on the same level as what it was back in the day. Like, I remember as a kid driving through Birmingham, Alabama, and there being like tons of steel mills and foundries and stuff like that. It used to stink like no tomorrow going through there. And you don't really see that anymore, you know. Mobilier International, that's cool. I'm curious as to like how, like, I know some of the places are made up in game, but those seem legit. Like, those seem like real places. We're probably gonna have a little knot coming out from under that bridge here. Yep. Go back in. So basically trying to outrun the slack coming in that little knot where it dipped down under the bridge and came back up, because what's going to happen is you're coming up the uphill side, the heading's going to start slowing down, your bottom's going to keep running in. You get a little slack. So what I like to do is try to throttle out of the sag to keep it stretched out. Sit and Shit Toilet Company. That is definitely made up, but that's a good one. I like that. That is a good one. That's excellent. Yet another logistics. Another play on words there is pretty good. Go back over here to this side. Real fast. Yeah, I was looking, people had asked about the horn. I saw where Blue Games had asked about the horn. That's a great channel. Y'all need to go check him out if you get a chance. He does some Run 8 stuff as well too, but Blue Games had come over and watched, and he said he liked the cab cam and said the horn sounds amazing. And I've been trying to remember where I got this horn from. Of course, I downloaded it somewhere, but I can't remember for the life of me where I got that horn. Unfortunately, I wish I could, because it is a good horn, right? It's an amazing horn, but I want to say, let's look at it here. It's going to be the BNSF D9 K3 something there. Yeah, I wish if I can figure it out, if I can figure out where I got it, I'll try to give a link or something to it. I don't think I'm going to be able to though, because I've literally, like, I've had that horn for a long time. Like, as long as V3's been out, I've had that horn probably. So yeah, I'll try to share it. I need to, like, I'd like to have a repository where I could share more of this stuff for you guys. All right, carry on. Still 50. No speed restrictions coming up, at least that I can see. So we had our 2 other meets back there. There's no more meets unless something generates. It does have the auto generation on, so we'll see what it does. But there's nothing out there that I know of. Yeah, I think they went back and tweak the scenery. I really do. I don't remember it being this detailed in some of these areas. I could be wrong. But it looks really, really nice. It looks nice. I dig it. Looks like another station area here. Looks like another hill here. 0.7. This is probably one of the steeper ones going into the basin that I've noticed. Like one of the few times we've been in number 8. Yeah, this looks, it looks different to me. Maybe my mind's playing tricks on me. It's weird, you know, you see something that you're kind of iffy about, like, I don't remember that, and then, like, everything now, I'm like, was that like that? Or was that, it's the same way when I see updates in games, right? I'm like, is that the way it was? Man, there's like, this song in my headphones, it sounds weird to me. I can't explain it. It sounds like it's on my main speakers for some reason. Yeah, it's a little bit of a grade pulling out of here. It sure is. I think it would have been so cool to be able to rail fan like the Santa Fe and the Southern Pacific and the UP and LA back in the 80s. What a good time. Like, what a good time to rail fan, period. You know, there was so much variety and so many different things to look at. Everything now is the same, right? Everything. Same locomotives, same paint schemes, same signals. You know, the invaders everywhere, and it's just, to me, it's not nearly as interesting or entertaining as it was back in the day. That's why I don't do it now. Like, I have zero desire to rail fan anything. We go to some stores in town that are kind of close to the tracks, and I'll take my daughters. Like, sometimes they'll want to go see a train if it's about to come through. We'll walk out to the tracks and do that, but otherwise it just doesn't appeal to me.
Milepost 154.3, main 2, ambient temperature 91 degrees.
That's why Spur likes pretty much retro everything, right? Like, it's just, everything is so like homogenized and utilitarian now, and it's the same, right? Like, everything is the same. It's such a shame. I'm glad I got to rail fan back east when I was a kid, when I did, because there was so many different things. You would see a train go through town, like very early CSX or even pre-CSX, and it may have like 4 or 5 different paint. It may have 5 locomotives, and every single one of them is a different paint scheme, right? I always thought that was interesting. And there was 50 bazillion different locomotive types, you know, from U30Bs and U18s, U36s to GP40s, GP38s, GP7s, SD42s. Yeah, like, there was so much more variety to enjoy. You never knew what you're going to see. Yeah, I think they had to have like improved the scenery some. It looks really nice. Like, I really dig it. Old school bridge there, nice. Look at that. It's got the R2s on it too, right? Oh man, If they had nothing but the old school signals on here, spare be in heaven. I really would. I'd love to see the needle sub. That is one that I would love to see the ability to backdate through some DLC. I'd be all about that because needle sub back in the day, up until like the early 2000s, wasn't like CTC running. It was D251, which was directional running. And so like all the crossovers were hand throws, and to run like opposite direction on the wrong way on another main was kind of a big deal, right? And like all the crossovers were trailing points, so you'd have to back through it. Like it was so cool. And then they had the little sidings, you know, that you could go into. It was way different back then. I think it would have been really interesting type of running to do for back then. It was D251 like pretty much the entire way. All right, so we had a flashing yellow, so that was like a advanced approach. Something similar to it, maybe. Guess we'll find out, right? I think we're good though. We'll just ease out throttle. Let it slow us down. I think we got to be at 40, right? I think. Back on out the throttle a little more here. Yeah, I'd be all about it. Backdating the needles. I think running with a D251 would be like night and day. It would be like night and day kind of running, right? It'd be so complex and different. Compared, looks like this crossing has been taken out. Yeah, they took that one out. They ripped that one up for some reason. Yeah, I think it'd make it operationally challenging is what I like to use, right? Operationally challenging, because this double main CTC is like easy mode running, right? Like it really is. The more tracks you add, the easier operationally it is to move freight, right? Because it can handle the traffic, the amount of traffic, so makes it really operationally easy. But there it goes. Here's Pico Rivera. So the automotive plant was over here somewhere, and all this stuff. Pretty cool little detail they got there, the rail and stuff. And I guess this is one of the yards, but yeah, they would bring auto parts down here, and they would load auto rack trains. Would load down here at Pico Rivera. But yeah, man, D251 on the needle sub back in the day, back in the 90s or 80s, or even the 80s would be a good time. Like that would be so cool. Like there wasn't a lot of like crossing over to the other main to get around somewhere to make a meet because it was such a pain. That's why they used the little sidings, right? And so and the sidings were hand throw. They weren't even CTC. They were hand throw with spring switches on the exit end of the siding, right? So you would line yourself in and then line it back, and then you would just go through the spring switch on the out end. Like the dispatcher didn't even line you out. It was like block signals, so the signal would automatically go to clear. And you know, it was so different. It was so different. There's a website, a really good website someone did a long time ago about D251 on the Santa Fe. I want to say it was through oh, we got it clear now. Okay, it was on the stretch through like New Mexico, like going to Gallup maybe over there. I think that was one of the last stretches of D251 they had. And this guy went through and he made pictures of all the signals, all the original OG signals that they installed, like in the early night, like around 1920 to 1940 is when they put them in. And so he documented a large majority of these signals, and he told how everything worked. how the signals work, how you get different aspects and stuff like that, because it was block signaling. It wasn't CTC, but really super cool. I'd be all about it. I'd be all about the needle sub on D251. I think that would be cool. Old school Santa Fe running. Yeah, I'd be in heaven. I absolutely would. All right, well, let's keep going. We slowed up for nothing. I don't know why we had that flashing yellow, but we did. Now we got another one. Are we running behind someone? Like, are we running on color? It kind of lagged. It kind of stuttered a little bit. Like I'm wondering if a train was loading in or something. I don't know. I don't want to. I don't want to look at the board. Maybe we had that bell going for a long time. Couldn't hear it. It's not very loud, right? Like, I don't hear it at all. Like, I really don't. I don't hear it at all. Let's hit Control F3. I think I kind of hear that one a little bit. Maybe. Running with the bell on, like, that's kind of true to life, too. I never forget one night we were running along and we realized that the bell was on our second unit. We had 2 locomotives on a piggyback train. The bell was on our second out unit. It turned out someone had been back there. We had a hobo back there riding in a cab. Because the light, we like the light wound up coming on and the bell came on and like different things, like we were pretty certain there was someone back there. And oh, we're coming into Commerce. Nice. I told my engineer, I was like, I guess I better go back there and check. And he's like, nope. He's like, do not go back there. He's like, we'll go together our next place that we stop. So we wound up stopping at a siding to meet someone. And I was like, we better go back there and check. He's like, okay. So he got an air hose wrench and I got an air hose, a spare air hose, and we went back there like we were gonna clobber someone if things went south, right? Like we were gonna give someone a knuckle sandwich or an air hose to the face or whatever. But yeah, we went back there armed. He didn't want to. He'd been an engineer for many years, so he knew, right? He knew there's potential of something going bad out of that situation. Because I'll be honest, the people that you ran into back then were way different than the YouTubers you see now. There's a huge problem with mental illness on the streets right now in the country. Okay, let's face it. You go to places like LA, San Francisco, Chicago, you know, some of the major cities. Mental illness and drug addiction on the streets are rampant. Way worse than I've ever known my entire life. Spur's been around the block a few times. But working on the railroad even 20 years ago, you saw it. I saw a lot of mental illness in some of these people. It was just hidden in like the dark corners of the country that most people didn't ever see. You saw it was on the backside of everything where the railroad went, right? Some of the craziest people I've ever met outside of a mental institution were along the railroad tracks. I'm talking about like really out of your head crazy kind of people, you know. So and you kind of ran into that with hobos too back then. Now, it wasn't all of them, but like hoboing now seems to have become a little more mainstream and chic. Like people almost do it for a vacation, right? Let's go ride a train and be a hobo, you know. It wasn't like that back then. Like when I railroaded, YouTube wasn't even around, you know. It wasn't even a thing. So yeah, I've seen places, like there was one place that we used to go through and there were so many people out there alongside the tracks, like sitting on boxes and milk crates and stuff, like shooting up drugs, like a dozen, 20 people. Like it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy, some of the stuff that you saw out there, you know. People flashing the train, not because they're being funny or cute, but because like they were out of their head, like doing crazy stuff, you know. Like it was wild. But it, like I said, back then it was more hidden in the darker corners, right? Now it's everywhere. Like you go to any city, you're going to see that stuff. Very prevalent and evident right in your face. 40 and 1.3, 25 and 2.4. And that's what we got to look out for. Looks like we're going to be coming up close to Alameda. Yeah, it's the whole mental health crisis in the country is really just kind of sad, honestly. Really just is. I've been in homes with like mental patients. Like I had a great uncle that had Alzheimer's, and when he was being evaluated, right, and they were trying to figure out what was going on, he was in one of those places. I remember going and visiting and just seeing some of the craziest stuff, like people sitting doing things out in open that just, you're like, wow, did I really just see that? Like, you know, like it's crazy. And there's so many people on the streets now that really have no business being on the streets, you know. And it's like most people nowadays are left to their own devices, right? They give them medication and they're like, okay, you take your medication and you'll be good. Come on. What's the odds of them really following through with that and doing it, or even having access, you know? Like, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, we're getting into LA. We're getting into LA here. Really cool area. Oh, this is a crossing here. Ooh, I like that crossing. That is nice job with the barricades, right? The concrete barricades. Like, that is a cool spot. It just dawned on me what I was looking at. Yeah, they've absolutely gone back and detailed this. They had to have. All right, another flashing yellow. We're going to treat that like an advanced approach. We got our 25 and 1.3. We're just kind of letting her slow down on her own here. Yeah, that tower's definitely new. That tower's absolutely mission. That's Mission Tower, right? That's so cool. Oh man, this would be so sweet. Old school Santa Fe with the old school signals and stuff. I know I was talking about that video I saw of this. Someone made of this in early 2000, and Mr. Greenstone, one of the developers from Run 8, commented and asked if it was oh, who was that guy that did those videos back in the day? The Recorder. I know who he's talking about with the Recorder. No, it wasn't Recorder. It was almost like a it was almost like a Pentrex video. They started, I think it started down at LAC, and they ran it up to San Bernardino, and then the video kind of ended, and then it picked up with another video that went up Cajon. And I definitely remember the Cajon video. They were putting in the other main. They were doing all that construction. Like, there's just construction, like dump truck after dump truck after dump truck, and pans and kind of, you know, bulldozers and stuff. Like, it was crazy the amount of equipment that they had out there. But yeah, I want to say it was like a Pentrex video. Of course, it got taken down for copyright issues, because I mean, technically you shouldn't be putting that stuff up there. They gotta make a living too. But I do remember that. I know the Recorder. I've seen some of his stuff. I haven't watched his stuff in I haven't seen it pop up in years. But yeah, this was it was like a Pentrex video. And I want to say it was, when did they put in the other main on Cajon? Early 2000s, maybe? Something like that. I hope that we're going to peek at the dispatcher's board, because I want to make sure. I'm not sure like which way we need to be routed, right? Yeah, Alameda corridor. Here we go. Okay, yeah, we are. Because sometimes auto, like, it doesn't know the symbols, right? It doesn't know. It may just automatically default you towards Alameda if it doesn't know the symbols. There's a way you can go in and you can add the symbols and it'll route you correctly, but it's like, this above my pay grade. I've dabbled with it before in the past, but it's been a long time. Yeah, let's come out of the throttle, kind of ease through here a little bit. When in doubt, ease along. You can't go wrong with that, right? Like, you can't you can't go wrong. I've worked with plenty of engineers, and we had trackage rides on the NS that they just eat, like they poked along to, you know. But yeah, we'll do that. We'll just we'll ease along here. Yeah, looks like we're fixing to go into Alameda Corridor, and that's going to end our trip, guys. It's been a fun trip. I love this route. It's, you know, a lot of people on the West Coast go for like Cajon and Tehachapi instead. And those are great routes too. Don't get me wrong; those are really super fun routes too. But and you can't beat LA. It's a really cool, fun type of running, right? You're not just putting it in number 8 and sitting back and just letting it do its thing for like an hour or two. SPJ yard over here. Yeah, I'd love to see the remainder of the old school UP added in from Riverside. Just be able to have like some old school sessions on here, UP, SP, and Santa Fe all separate, right? A lot of you, here's the crazy thing about it is like a lot of you guys weren't even around to really appreciate that stuff, man, and that is so sad. Like, you just don't know what you missed out, you know. You don't know what you missed out on. It was so cool back then. So much variety and things to look at and see. And you know, back in the day, even till like I don't want to say the late 90s, but maybe mid 90s, we talked about in the other video, Farmer John running like actual livestock pigs down here on stock cars. You know, that was a regular thing for a long time until they stopped doing it. Some of the last stock car movements in the country. Farmer John pigs, the Hog X cars. Before that, it was Union Pacific 40-foot, like the little 40-foot stock cars. But they hauled pigs down here. You know, they hauled pigs down here, which is so, like, that is so freaking cool. They put them on the head end of intermodal trains. They'd come out of Nebraska and Iowa. They run to Salt Lake City on the UP, and they come down to UP to Cajon, come over Cajon Pass, and then split off at Riverside. Stuff like that you won't ever see again. You know, that's long gone. Won't ever be like that again. But a cool operational aspect, because the pigs were kind of hot. Like, that was kind of a hot load. They had to keep them moving, right? They couldn't stress them and kill them, you know. I'm sure some of them probably didn't make it along the way, but had to be watered. I think they were offloaded in Salt Lake City. Have to be offloaded for so many hours, right? And then they load them back on the cars and take them to LA. But Farmer John wanted the freshest pigs for his hot dogs. All right, Alameda Corridor, guys. It's like, this is it. It's not going to get any different than this. It's just a big ditch that you run through to the harbor. Thanks so much for watching. We're going to end it here. Love all of you guys. Thank you so much to all the new subscribers and new viewers. People have been watching it. Really, I've had a little bit of a boost here lately, and it sure has been nice to see. I'll be honest. I really do appreciate it. Be sure to hit that like or subscribe if you find yourself coming back to the channel to watch. Be sure to subscribe, hit that like, leave me a comment, even if you're just saying hi. I love hearing from you guys, and we'll catch you out there next time. Peace. No, big cat, no. Stop. Oh no, no, kitty. Oh, that's the weirdest day ever. Oh no, he just fell. He just fell.